Okay, today I'm going to be teaching you how to multiply integers. And over the years, I've taught multiplying and dividing integers lots of different ways. In fact, up until about 3 years ago, I would teach multiplying and dividing with rules. So I would teach you adding and subtracting with rules, Rule 1 and Rule 2. And then I would teach you multiplying and dividing using Rule 3 and Rule 4. Everybody would understand Rule 1 and 2, and then they'd come in and understand Rule 3 and 4. And then I'd put it all together, and what would happen is people would just get all scrambled up. They wouldn't know what to do anymore. They'd be using Rule 1 when they were doing Rule 2, or when it was multiplication. Their brain would get all scrambled. And so the last couple of years, I've tried to come up with a new way of thinking of multiplication and division without rules so that people wouldn't get them mixed up. All right, so that's what I'm going to teach you here today. I'm still not convinced it's the best way to teach it, but it does make sense, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to think of multiplication and division problems as an on-off switch. So for example, if I was going to multiply -3 times 5, if the first number, negatives turn off the lights, positives don't do anything to the lights. So what I want you to think of is every time you see a negative, you're going to flip the light switch, okay? Whatever the first number is tells you if the lights are on or off. Negatives turn the lights off, positives turn them on. So the first number is negative, so the lights are going to start off. And then a +5. I don't flip the lights when I see positive numbers. I only touch the light switch when I see negatives. So the -3 turns the lights off. The 5 doesn't do anything. So the lights are going to be off, and it's going to be -15. I know that's confusing, but just stay with me here for a minute. All right, so let's do 3 times -5. Okay? The first number tells me how the lights start. Positive numbers make the lights on, right? So the lights start on. Every time I see a negative, I flip the switch. Do I see a negative? Yes. So that flips my on switch to off. And so my answer is the lights are off, so the answer is -15. Let's see another example. -3 times -5. Okay, first number tells me that the lights are off. Every time I see a negative, I flip the switch again. I see a negative, so these turn them back on. Right? The first negative started the problem off with the lights off. I saw another negative, so it flips the switch, and now they're on. So it's +15. Now I can get really cute with this. I can do a really hard one. -1 times -1 times 1 times -1. And you could actually do this pretty quickly because these turn the lights off. The next negative turns them on. The positive doesn't do anything. And the next negative turns them back off. So, first number turned them off. The next number turned them on. The positive doesn't do anything. The next negative turns them off. So the answer is off, which is negative. -1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is -1. All you have to do is remember, first number tells you how the lights start. Every negative flips the switch. Positives don't do anything. So let's do this first problem, first example. First number tells me that the lights start off, right? So the lights start off. You don't have to write the off, but I'm going to do it on your notes. So the first number tells me the lights are off. What's the positive do? Nothing. So the answer is the lights are going to stay off, so it's negative. 7 times 10 is 70. Let's do example 2. First number, those turn the lights off. The next negative, that negative turns the lights off. Another negative flips the switch again, so that turns them back on. So now it's positive. +96. Positive. Next problem. -12 divided by 6. You can do division problems just like you do multiplication problems, okay? The first number turns the lights off. The positive 6 doesn't do anything, so the lights stay off. It's negative. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Real easy. Okay? Let's do it again with fractions. Real quick, let's remind ourselves how to multiply fractions. If I have 1/2 times 2/3, this is all you're going to do. You're going to bring the numerators together. You're going to bring the denominators together. And you have two choices. You can multiply those and then simplify, but I like to simplify before I multiply. So I'm going to start casting out things that are the same. I can divide that by 2, and I can divide that by 2, so those become 1. And I'm left with 1 times 1 is 1 over 1 times 3 is 3. So let's dumb it down for ourselves. All you do is you bring the tops together, bring the bottoms together, and simplify. Okay? So let's deal with the sign first. The first number is negative, so the lights are off. The next number is positive, so it doesn't do anything to the light switch, so the answer is going to be negative. So I know my answer is going to be negative. So what I would do if I were you, I would circle my answer and I'd put a negative over here. Then what I would do is then do the math for the numbers. 1 times 2 over 2 times 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm left with 1/3. So it's negative 1/3. Don't forget the negative sign. All right, for example 5. First thing I do is figure out what if the lights are on or off. First number, keep the lights on. The negative turns the lights off. So I know my answer is going to be negative. And then I just do the math. 5 times 3/10. I've got two ways I could do this. I can do 5 divided by 10 times 2, or sorry, 5 divided by 10 times 3, or, and I like to do it that way, 5 divided by 10 is 1/2, or is 2, and 3 over 2 is 3/2. That may not make sense to you, so let's do it this way. 5 over 1 is the same as 5, right? So it's 5 over 1 times 3 over 10. Bring the tops together, 5 times 3. Bring the bottoms together, 1 times 10. I can divide these both by 5. Divide that by 5, it makes 1. Divide that by 5, it makes 2. On the top, I'm left with 1 times 3, which is 3. On the bottom, I'm left with 1 times 2, which is 2. And you can see I get the same answer. So it's negative 3/2. Now let's do a harder one. All right, let's first figure out the color or the sign of the number. First negative turns them off. Next negative turns them on. The positive doesn't do anything. So the lights were off, now they're back on, so that makes it positive. So I know it's going to be positive. Bring all my fractions together. 2 times 12 times 3 over 5 times 15 times 8. And just start dividing things that you can divide. Well, let's see here. I can divide 8 and 2 by 2. So I'm going to divide this by 2, I get 1. Divide this by 2, I get 4. 12 and 4 can be divided by 4. Divide this by 4, I get 1. Divide this by 4, I get 3. And then 3 and 15 can be divided by 3. 15 becomes 5. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So what am I left with? 1 times 3 on the top. 5 times 5 times 1 on the bottom, which is 25. So my answer is 3/25. I'm not so big on the fractions right now. If you don't understand the fractions great right now, that's okay. What I really do care about right now is that you understand the light switch. So let me summarize this for you. The first number tells you how the lights start, and every time you see a negative, it flips the switch. Okay? Every negative flips the switch. If you can remember that, it should be pretty easy for you. Good luck.